Start. In the previous session, we discussed the continuity equation for one-dimensional steady flow, right? But in general, we can say that flow may be two-dimensional or three-dimensional. Flow may be steady, unsteady. It may be compressible, incompressible, right? So we want a generalized continuity equation which can be valid for any type of flow. Equal to the Start. In the previous session, we discussed the continuity equation for one-dimensional steady flow, right? But in general, we can say that maybe two-dimensional or three-dimensional. Flow may be steady, unsteady. It may be compressible, incompressible, right? So we want a generalized continuity equation which can be valid for any type of flow. So let us derive this generalized continuity equation. So the topic of this session is your generalized continuity equation, right? This is a generalized continuity equation which will be valid for all type of flow, for steady, unsteady, rotational, incompressible, compressible, one-dimensional, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, right? Now let us take a fluid control volume, flow control volume. Let us take this. Suppose this is the control volume in which we have to study this continuity equation. Because we have to study the three-dimensional flow, so we have to take a three-dimensional flow, that is the flow in the x-axis, y-axis and z-axis. That's why we will take the control volume like this, right, in which we can show the flow in all the directions, x, y and z. Let us say that in that control volume, in that flow, this is a small element of the fluid which is flowing. Wait, just 1 second. Let us say this is a three-dimensional fluid element which is flowing in the control volume, or you can say this is a small, very small section of a control volume. You can consider it like that. Right, this is the case, and I am saying, let us say this is the control volume, and let us define the axis. Let us say that this is the x-axis, this is y-axis, and let us say this is z-axis. We know that the x component of the velocity is u, y component is mu, and z component is omega. Now let us name this here. Let us say this is A, B, C, D, right? We are naming this. Let us say this is E, F, G, H, right? Now let us say that this is a very small control volume section we will discuss, and if we say what are the lengths, or what are the lengths of this, let us say this length is dx, this length is dx, this length is dy, and this length is dz, right? This length is dz. Now I am saying that let us say that fluid is flowing in all the direction. Let us say first of all we will discuss what is the mass flow rate of the fluid which is coming inside the control volume through the plane AEHD. Through this plane, what is the mass flow rate coming in this direction? What is the mass flow rate coming in this direction? Let us say that the mass flow rate will be, let us say this is m dot x. M dot x is the mass flow rate which is coming here in this direction. From this direction, I am saying, let us just say that mass flow rate is coming out, that is m dot x plus dx, right? This is, if this is m dot x, then this is m dot x plus dx, basic mathematics. If I say from this bottom surface, this surface, let us say mass is coming in this direction. If the mass is coming in this direction, I am saying, let us say the mass flow rate which is coming in this direction is, let us say, m dot y, and mass going out of this top section, of this top surface, the mass which is going out, let us say this is m dot y plus dy, right? This is this one. And if we say from this front surface, that is A, B, C, D, from this front surface, let us say mass going inside in this direction, this is in this direction mass is going inside, and let us say that that mass is m dot z, and mass going away out from the behind the surface, this surface E, F, G, H, the mass which is going out in that direction, let us say that mass going out in that direction is m dot z. The mass going out will be m dot z, z plus dz, sorry, m dot z plus dz. Right. Now, we know that mass flow rate will be density into area into velocity. Mass is density into area into velocity. Now, if I say, if we talk about m dot x, let us say the density of the fluid which is flowing is rho. Rho is the density of the fluid. I am saying so that m dot x is density. This is in the x direction. So we have the x component of velocity, that is u, into area of the flow, that is area is this one of this surface AEHT. The area is dz into dy into dz, right? Similarly, m dot y will be equal to density rho. Now this is in y direction, so the y component of velocity nu, and the area of AEFB, this area is, this is dx into dz, Similarly, m dot z will be equal to, this will be equal to y component density into z component of velocity is omega into area of this surface ABCD, that is dx into dy, right? And you know that what is the your m dot x plus dx from the basics of your mechanics, that for mathematics, that m dot x in plus dx will be m dot x plus del by del x of m dot x into dx. This is the basic how we can resolve the components, right? This is the basic of mathematics, that you can write m dot, this is a Taylor series, you can know m dot x plus dx will be m dot x plus del by del x of m dot x into dx. So now you can write here that m dot x plus dx will be equal to m dot x, that is rho u dy dz plus del by del x of m dot x, that is rho u dy dz into dx, right? Similarly, you can write m dot y plus dy, that will be m dot y, that is rho nu dx dz plus del by del y of m dot y, that is rho nu dy dz into, sorry, dx dz into dy. This is m dot y plus dy. And what is m dot z plus dz? This will be equal to m dot z, that is rho omega dx dy plus del by del z of m dot z, that is rho omega dx dy into dz. So these are the different mass components which you have to say, right? This is the condition now. We already discussed this, right? We already say this. Now let us say that if we apply the conservation of mass, we already see that what is the conservation of mass? That is equal to the mass which is coming inside the system minus mass which is going out of the system will be equal to the rate of change of mass of control volume. Or you can say mass which comes inside the system will be equal to the mass which goes out plus mass that can be stored in the control volume. So you can write from here that mass flow rate of inside inlet, mass which is coming inside will be equal to mass which goes out plus rate of change of mass of control volume. Change of mass of control volume with time, right? Let us say this is your equation number 1. And if you want to see what is the mass of control volume, mass will be density into volume. This is not mass flow rate, don't confuse with it. This is, I'm not talking about mass flow rate, because in the control volume we want to find what is the mass of control volume. Mass is density into volume. So the density of the fluid is rho and volume of this control volume is dx dy dz. So we can say that from here rate of change of control volume mass with respect to time will be equal to, this will be equal to change of d of rho dx dy dz divided by dt. You can see from here. So if I put this dm by dt in this equation number 1. So I can write from here that mass which is coming inside the system is m dot in. Mass which is coming inside the system is, you can write that m dot x plus m dot y plus m dot z. This is the mass which is coming inside, will be equal to mass which is going outside is m dot x plus dx plus m dot y plus dy plus m dot z plus dz. This is the mass which is going out plus change of mass of control volume with respect to time. Rate of change of mass with respect of control volume with respect to time. This equation I can write like this. Now if I put the values, m dot x is rho u dy dz, right, plus what is this, m dot y is rho nu dx dz plus m dot z is rho omega dx dy is equal to, you know this, what is m dot x plus dx? M dot x plus dx is mx rho u dy dz plus del by del x of rho u dy dz into dx plus, I am writing here because the space is not sufficient, plus m dot y plus dy is rho nu dx dz plus del by del y of rho nu dx dz into dy plus m dot z plus dz is rho omega dx dy plus del by del z of rho omega dx dy into dz plus d by dt of mcv, that is d by dt of rho dx dy dz. So I put all the values here, right, all the values of the equation. So if you can see that rho u dy dz will cancel, rho nu dx dz, this will cancel, and this will cancel with each other. They will cancel with each other. So I can write from here, we will get that, if you see from here, what we will get, the equation will turn out to be, this differential terms will left, del by del x of rho u dy dz into dx plus del by del y of rho nu dx dz into dy plus del by del z of rho omega dx dy into dz plus d by dt of rho dx dy dz is equal to 0. The equation will be like this. Now from this differential term, from this bracket, I can take dy dz outside, because we have to differentiate with respect to x only. Dy dz can be taken out of the bracket. So if I take dy dz from here out common, from here dx dz common, from or outside the bracket, or from here dx dy outside the bracket, and here we have to differentiate with respect to time. So dx dy dz is a not related with time, so we have to take it with out of the bracket, because their differentiation, they are the constant. With respect to time, with respect to x, they are constant. With respect to y, they are constant. So we can take it out. So if you take it out, you can see that dx dy dz, dx dy dz, dx dy dz, dx dy dz will cancel each other. So now the equation will be, just remember, the equation will be del by del x of rho u plus del by del x of rho nu plus del by del y of this plus del by del z of rho omega plus d rho by dt will be equal to 0. This is the generalized continuity equation. This is generalized continuity equation, and you can see from here we take no assumptions. Up to this point we took no assumption, whether the flow may be steady, whether the flow may be unsteady, it may be anything, right? We are not taking any assumption till this equation. So this equation can be valid for both steady, unsteady, compressible, incompressible. You can see from here we have the time component also there, right? That means time is there, so it can apply for the steady or unsteady both. And we are saying that densities are varying. I'm not saying densities are constant. Densities are inside the differential term, so that means densities are varying, so it can apply for all the equations. So you have to remember this equation. This is the most important equation which you have to remember, that del by del x of rho u plus del by del y of rho nu plus del by del z of rho omega plus d rho by dt will be equal to 0. Now if we take the assumptions, let us say for case 1. Case 1 means steady flow. Case 1 means steady flow. We will take the case 1, that is the steady flow. In the steady flow, we know that this time term will cancel, that density will not change with time. D rho by dt will be equal to 0. I am taking d rho by dt will be equal to 0. So in that case, for the steady flow, the continuity equation will be del by del x of rho u plus del by del y of rho nu plus del by del z of rho omega will be equal to 0. This is the continuity equation for steady flow. Now, some of the student will say that, sir, d rho by dt will be equal to 0. That means the density is not changing. That means density is a constant. That means you can take density common from here. Right? Some of the students may have this confusion that if d rho by dt is 0, that means density is constant. So you can take density out from here and it will become 0. Right? Don't do this mistake, guys. Don't do this mistake, because d rho by dt is 0 means, I am again and again saying, there are two ways, there are number of things are there in the fluid mechanics. D rho by dt means that density is not changing with time. Density is not changing with time. But here the density variations are not with time, they are with the space. I am saying when the fluid is flowing in the x direction, maybe density will vary because of pressure. If fluid is flowing in the y direction, maybe density will vary. Maybe the flow is compressible. Maybe the flow is compressible in z direction. Density is not changing with time, right? Steady state means none of the motion parameters will change with time. They may change with space. They may change with space. They may change with the condition of the flow, right? Maybe because of pressure difference, maybe the density is changing. Maybe the flow is compressible flow. So don't take density constant here. Don't do this mistake. Don't take density constant from here, right? Now, case 2. Case 2 is incompressible flow. I am talking about incompressible flow, not fluid. We are talking about flow, not fluid. Fluid may be compressible, fluid may be compressible, fluid may be incompressible. We are not talking about the fluids, we are talking about the flow. In most of the textbook, they will do a mistake. They will say that incompressible fluid. We are not saying incompressible fluid. Fluid may be compressible. We are saying that when the fluid is flowing through this control volume, the density will not change during this flow only. Maybe the fluid is compressible, maybe the fluid is air, right? Maybe the air is flowing, but we are saying when the air is coming from this point to this point, in this there should not be change in density. So the condition is incompressible flow, not incompressible fluid. I am not saying incompressible fluid. There are a big difference between them. What is the compressible fluid? What is the compressible flow? What is the incompressible fluid? What is the incompressible flow? And we already discussed that the flow of a compressible fluid can be a incompressible. Compressible fluid can undergo a incompressible flow. That can happen because flow is compressible or not, they are depending upon the density variation during the flow. There may be the case that the pressure which is induced, the pressure which is present during the flow, the pressure difference during the flow is not that sufficient that it can change the density of the flow, the density of the fluid, right? So let the fluid will be compressible, let the fluid will be air, but during the flow pressure is not that sufficient that it can change the density. So the flow is incompressible. So that's why I am writing here incompressible flow, not fluid, right? Incompressible flow means that density is constant. Density is constant during the flow. I am writing here. Density is constant during the flow. If density is constant, then density can be taken out from these, sorry, not this, density can be taken out from this equation, and if density is constant, this d rho by dt will be 0, right? Right, d rho by dt will be 0 if density is constant. So I can say that if this is the case, if you take rho outside and rho can be cancelled out, then the equation will be del u by del x plus del nu by del y plus del omega by del z will be equal to 0. Will be equal to 0. This is the equation for incompressible flow. Now the student says, sir, can we say that if the flow is incompressible, then the flow is static or steady, then the flow is steady? No, this is not the case, because you may wonder that, sir, from this equation that, sir, if this time component is 0, then we can say that flow is steady. No, this is not the case. I am saying density is constant through the flow, but there may be the case that velocities are a function of time. Some other parameters, some other fluid parameters, motion parameters will be a function of time. It may be the case, right? Flow is not steady. Based on only one term, you cannot say that if the flow is incompressible flow, then the flow is steady also. No, this is not the case. Flow may be unsteady, but in the continuity equation, we have only one term of time, right? There are so many fluid parameters, acceleration is there, velocities are there, so many fluid parameters are there that can change with time during the flow. In the fluid, in this equation, we don't have that term. So don't judge that if for the incompressible flow, because density is constant, this term goes, that means flow is steady flow. No, this is not the case. Flow is not steady. Flow is incompressible only. So you can say that, sir, for incompressible and steady flow also this equation is valid. Yes, this equation is valid for both, for incompressible steady flow. But that doesn't mean that this equation is always valid for incompressible steady. This equation is also valid for incompressible unsteady flow. Flow is incompressible but unsteady. It is also valid for that, right? It doesn't mean that from here you cannot say that flow is steady flow. Don't confuse with this concept, right? So this is the generalized equation. You just remember this equation. This is the most important one. This is the most important one. You just remember this equation. Other equations you can easily calculate, right? So this is all about the generalized continuity equation, which can be valid for any kind of flow, whether it will be one-dimensional, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, incompressible, compressible, steady, unsteady. You can apply this continuity equation for all of the types of flow. Stop. Start. Now the next topic of our discussion in the fluid kinematics is the translation, rate of deformation and rotation. We can say that when a fluid particle is moving, or when a fluid is moving in a pipe or in some surface, then there are three possibilities that by which fluid can flow. That is, either the fluid is in translation, or fluid particle will be in the deformation, some deformation will happen, and another one will be the rotation, that fluid can rotate, right? So these are the three important properties, or you can say that these are the three important things which we want to discuss here, that what we mean by translation, rate of deformation and rotation. First of all, let us discuss the translation, that is the pure translation, right? And we will discuss the pure translation of your 2D flow, when the flow is in the two-dimensional, that is in x and y direction, and we will represent this pure translation in the Cartesian coordinate. And we can say that translation and rotation, if a body is translate or if a body is rotate without deformation, right? There is no deformation while the body is translating in the linear direction, then there is no deformation, and if the body is rotating also, there is no deformation, or but then we can say that this pure translation and pure rotation without the deformation is representing the rigid body displacement, right? We can say that in this case we say that a rigid body is translating or a rigid body is rotating without any deformation. You already know that concept of rigid body, that rigid body is that body, if you apply any number of force or any amount of force or stress on that body, there should not be any deformation on that. So if a fluid particle or if a fluid element is in pure translation or pure rotation without deformation, we can say that it is represent a rigid body displacement, that only the fluid particle is displacing as a rigid body, and if there is no deformation, then we can say that there is no strain developed in the body. If there is no deformation, there is no strain, right? Now let us discuss pure translation, right? We will discuss the pure translation. First phenomena which we want to discuss is pure translation. And all these we will discuss with the two-dimensional flow in the Cartesian coordinate, that is x and y coordinates. So now let us say that if in this case, if I could say, let us take this x and y axis. It is a two-dimensional flow, so we can only represent in x and y direction. Let us say this is x axis and this is y axis, right? X and y axis. I take a line, or you can say a linear line, in which the fluid is translating. Let us say this. Now if I say, let us take a very small fluid particle or a very small fluid element which is present. So if I say, let us suppose this is the very small fluid element. For your understanding only, we'll take it as a large view, but it is a very small fluid element. For your understanding, we make it like this, right? Let us say this is a very small fluid element and we will say that these distances, let us say dx, and this distance is, let us say, dy, right? These are the distance, and we can say that, let us say u is the x component of velocity, and nu is the y component of velocity. Velocity y component and x component. And we can say that in the pure translation, this body is translating in this line, let us say in this line. So after some time, let us say delta t, this fluid particle will reach here. This fluid particle will reach here after some time delta t, right? Delta t. This is after some time delta t. And if I say, let us say this is A, B, C and D. So this is also A, B, C and D. In this line, the fluid particle is translating, or if you want to represent it in a better way, so we can take this line passing through the center, right? Let us say this is the line. Along this line, this fluid particle is translating. Along this line, the fluid particle is translating. This is under pure translation, right? This is under pure translation. And I can say that if the body is under pure translation, only the body is under pure translation, there should not be any change in the length, right? If there is no other thing happen, then we can say, if let us suppose, if I am saying, let us say this is the fluid particle, and if it is under pure translation, it will go in this way. If this is the original length and the included angles between the sides, so under pure translation, it will go like this. There is no deformation, there is no rotation, nothing is there. So we can say that in this pure translation, there should not be no change in the length of the element, no change in the length. That means this AB length will be the same, BC length will be the same, and so on. And also there should not be any change, no change in included angles, no change in included angles, right? These angles between the different line elements, that is between AB and AD, this angle, if let us say initially this angle is 90 degree, then here also this angle is 90 degree. There should not be any change in the included angle. Only the body is translating, displacing from one point to another point in the time, let us say delta t. There should not be any change in the length or no change in the included angles made by this fluid element. So we can say that these sides are displaced parallelly. These sides are displaced parallelly, right? They will translate in a parallel direction. Parallelly these sides are displaced, and we can say that this is possible only and only when the component of velocities, that is u component of the velocity, is constant, and the y component, the velocities are constant. If the velocities are constant, then we can say this will happen, that when the body is placed, then this, if you can see here, the fluid element is moving in the x direction also, the fluid particle or fluid element is moving in the y direction also, right? If this fluid particle is going from this point to this point, this will include the motion in the x direction and motion in the y direction. So we can say that if the fluid velocities, that is the x component in the x direction, if the fluid velocities, flow velocity is constant, there should not be any increase or decrease of the flow velocities. If the flow velocities are not a function of x and y, right? We can say if the fluid velocity, if you can say u, that is x component of velocity, it is not changing with the space, that is it is not a function of x and y, right? If the fluid particle is moving in the x direction, the velocity will remain constant. So this is the case only when the fluid velocities, x component and y component of the velocities, are constant. They are not depending upon the space, right? Or we can say that this flow field is uniform, right? This is case when we can say that the flow field is uniform. Flow field is uniform means in a space the fluid velocities are not changing. The flow velocities are not changing in the space, and the flow velocities are constant. Then we can say that the fluid particle is in pure translation. So if in any flow, if the flow velocities are constant, they are not a function of x, y, z or time, if they are not a function of them, then the fluid element will be in the pure translation. The fluid element will be in the pure translation. There should not be any change in the length of the fluid element and the included angle also. Now let us say that, let us consider a situation where, now the second case will be the translation with deformation. Now let us discuss this. This is the same axis which we are taking, x and y axis. Just pay attention here, right? You need to understand the concept when the fluid element will be in pure translation, when the fluid element will be in translation included deformation, right? Body is translating with deforming, then when it will be the case. Now let us explain that concept of translation with deformation. This is y-axis, this is x-axis, right? X-axis and y-axis. Now consider a situation where the component of flow velocities, become the function of only one space coordinate, and that coordinate is that in which the flow velocity component is defined. That means if I can say u is the x component of velocity, then u is a function of x only. If the fluid is moving in the x direction, then the x component of velocity is changing. That means u is not a function of y. If the fluid is moving in the y direction, the velocity u component is constant, right? Similarly, the y component of velocity is a function of y only. That means if the fluid is moving in the y direction, then we can say that, then only we can say that the nu, that is the y component, will change. If the fluid is moving in the x direction, the y component of velocities will not change, right? So let us see what happened. We are taking the same fluid element. Let us take the same fluid element. You need to understand this, right? I'll try that you will get this concept, that what is happening. This is, stop. Start. This is the same fluid element A, B, C, D. Let us say this is A. We can say this is A, B, C, and D. Right? This is the x and y axis. And I am saying that the flow velocities, if I write here, that the flow velocity is a function of only one space coordinate, is a function of only one space coordinate, and along which that space coordinate is along which that component is defined. That means, you please understand, that means u is a function of x only, and nu is a function of y only. That means in the y direction, x component will not change. In the x direction, y component will not change. Now what happen is, you may understand one thing. If let us say initially, let us say this is dx, this length is dx, this length is dy, right? This length is dy. And if I am saying, if in the x direction the velocities are changing, so if the velocity, you please understand here, if the velocity of point A is u, then the velocity of point B will be u plus del u by del x into dx, right? This is the velocity of point B, right? Similarly, if I say the y component of A is nu, the velocity y component at point A is nu, then the y component at point D will be what is this? That will be nu plus del nu by del y into dy. This is the y component of velocity here. So you can say that in the x direction velocity is increasing. So if I say after time delta t, let us say this particle will reach here. In the time delta t, this particle will reach here. And you can appreciate one thing very clear, that if the velocity of this particle is u, the velocity of this b particle is more. So in the time delta t, if you talk about the distance traveled, then this particle is traveling the distance u into dt, and this particle will travel the distance, this velocity, into time. As this velocity is more, so the distance traveled by this point B will be more. Similarly, if you talk about this line segment AD, the distance traveled by in the y direction by A point is nu into delta t, and the distance traveled by D particle in the y direction will be your nu plus del nu by del y into dy into dt. So this particle will travel more distance. So the length will increase. Right? And we say one thing, we say that when the fluid particle is moving in the y direction, x component will not change. That means this line segment AB, if it is initially in this line, then after time delta t, this will be in the same line, because the component of u is not depending upon y. So it will be same. In this y, let us say this is y1, this coordinate is y1. In the y1, if this is the x component of the velocity, so they will shift parallelly, because the u component will not change. In the y direction, right? U is not a function of y. So they will shift parallelly. This you have to appreciate, that they will shift parallelly, but the length will increase. Suppose this is the fluid element after time dt. This is the fluid element after time delta t. Delta t is the time, right? And we can say that this is A, this is B, this is C, and this is D. Initially, let us say A, B, C, D is this one. right? This is the initial, this is the initial, this is the final. So this much is the deformation, this much is the deformation. And if you talk about this, not connected with this is ABCD initially, right? I write here ABCD initially. This ABCD is the initially here. Now if you want to see that what is the distance traveled, if you talk about, if I extend it like this, we want to find what are the distance traveled by them. What are the distance traveled by them? Let us say, I am saying, let us say the A point will travel how much distance? This distance is traveled by A point, that is U into delta t. U into delta t. This is the traveled distance. And how much distance is the B? B traveled how much distance? This is B. This is point B. B traveled this much distance. B traveled this much distance. And how much is this? Is U plus del U by del X into dx into delta t. This is the distance traveled by them. This is the distance traveled by them. So if you see from here, what is the deformation? What is the deformation? Deformation is this A particle will move distance U into delta t, B particle will move this distance U plus del U by del X into dx into dt, right? So B particle will move how much distance more than A? That is this one, del U by del X into dx into delta t. So this deformation in the X direction will be del U by del X into dx into delta t, right? B will move this distance more than the A. B will move this distance more than the A. Similarly, we can see in the y direction, A particle will move in the y direction. This distance, if you extend this distance is nu into delta t, and D will move the distance nu plus del U by del Y into dy into delta t. So if I just show here, similar pattern we can prove it also. This distance in the y direction, will be del nu upon del y into dy into delta t. This is the deformation in the y direction. This is the deformation in the y direction. We can say that in this case we can say the linear dimension will change. In this case your linear dimension will change because flow velocities are space coordinates, are depending upon space, are depending upon coordinates x and y. But in this case also included angle will not change. Included angle will not change. Included angle will remain same. These angles will remain same because the u is not a function of y, and also we can say nu is not a function of x, right? If this is the case, then we can say from here that the relative displacement of point B, with respect to point A per unit time in the x direction will be, if I write relative displacement of B with respect to point A, per unit time, we are concerned about per unit time in x direction. How much it will be? This will be this much, del U by del X into dx. Per unit time we have to take. So this will be del U by del X into dx. This is the relative displacement of point B. Similarly, we can say that relative displacement of point D with respect to point A per unit time in y direction will be del nu upon del y into dy. Del nu upon del y into dy. These are the deformations. Relative displacement means what? These are the deformations, right? So we can say that since u is not a function of y, and the y component, that is nu, is not a function of x, we can say that all the point on the linear element AD, will move with the same velocity in x direction. Obviously, because nu is not changing with x, so they will move with the same velocity in x direction, right? So if these particles will move with the same velocity in x direction, so there will not be any change in the length, in this length there should not be any change, there should not be any orientation. If I can say that the point A, if nu is a function of y also, if you can say y component of velocity, that is nu, is a function of x, then when this line is moving in this direction, comes here, then it may be the case this particle is moving with less velocity, this particle is moving with more velocity in x direction, so they may tilt like this, they may deform like this. There should be an angle, there should be a change in angle, because in the x direction y component change. But here the y component is not changed, so the sides move parallelly from their initial position without changing in its included angle. Sides will move in the parallel direction only. So we can say that this is known as translation with deformation, right? Translation with deformation, or if you write more correct, this case is the translation with linear deformation. Deformation is linear, right? Deformation is linear. There should not be any angular deformation, right? Now you know that a phenomena, that is, this is the deformation. This is a deformation. This is the rate of deformation. So if I write here that rate of deformation upon original length, rate of deformation upon original length will be rate of strain, right? Rate of strain, because strain is deformation per unit, deformation divided by original length, but we have here rate of deformation with respect to time we have. So if we take rate of deformation, then we can say this is the rate of strain. So you can see from here the rate of strain can be represented with the symbol epsilon. So rate of strain in the x direction will be, rate of strain in the x direction will be, what is the deformation rate in the x direction? That is del u by del x into dx divided by original length in the x direction is dx. So we can say that rate of strain, linear strain rate will be equal to del u by del x. This is rate of linear strain in the x direction. Similarly, you can see from here strain in y direction will be equal to your strain rate in y direction into dy divided by original length, that is dy. So the strain in the y direction, strain rate in the y direction will be del nu upon del y. So these are the linear strain rates. These two are the linear strain. This is linear strain in the linear direction, linear strain rate. These are known as linear strain rates. So this is the linear strain rate component in the x direction. This is the linear strain rate component in the y direction, right? So this is the case of translation with linear deformation, when a body is translating and also deforming linearly. Now we have to see the case when there is a translation with angular deformation also. With angular deformation, we will see it. Stop. Start. Now let us see the case when translation is with the simultaneous linear and angular deformation. Previously we see that the first case is the pure translation, when the u component and or you can say x component of velocity and the y component of velocities are constant. Second is the case with translation with linear deformation, when the x component of velocity is varying in x direction only and when the y component of velocity is varying in the y direction only. Now let us see the third case, when we can say the translation, the fluid element is in the translation, but along with the translation it is having both linear deformation and angular deformation. This is the case when the component of velocity, if we talk about the x component of velocity, it is a function of both x and y axis, right? It is a function of both x and y coordinates. That means if a fluid particle is moving in the y direction, then its x component of velocity will also change, right? So we can say that this condition will be possible when we have the x component of velocity is a function of x and y both, and also when the y component of velocity is a function of both x and y, right? When they are the function of both x and y. We see in our earlier case that u is a function of x only. So when a fluid particle is moving in the y direction, then a line element, that is AD, will move with the same x velocity. But now it is not in this case. Now let us make the diagram again, right, of a fluid particle. I'll make this here so that you will be able to understand. Let us say we have the same x and y axis. We will make it in a elaborated manner so that you will be able to understand. Let us say this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, right? Initially we have the same element, that is A, B, C, D. Suppose this is the element A, B, C, D. This is the same length dx and dy. This is the initial condition of the element, let us say. Right, this is the element, and I am saying, let us say that this is A, B, C and D. The length is, let us say, dx and dy. The lengths are dx and dy. After some time delta t, this particle or this element will move from here to here. Now, please try to understand the concept. First of all, I am making this initial element, let us say this is the element, initial element. Right, this is A, B, C, D initially, but in this case what happened is that u is a function of x and y and nu is also a function of x and y. So we can say that this point B, if we talk about this line element AB, this you may consider here this, that this particle will move from here to here. So it will travel x distance also, it will travel y distance also, right? It is traveling in x direction and in y direction both. That's why I'm showing it in here in this coordinates, right? So we can say that this b particle, if you talk about the earlier case when u is a function of x only, not the function of y. So when this element AB, just stick around, when this element AB is moving in the y direction, right? When this AB is moving in the y direction, the velocities of this line segment AB, each and every particle which is here in this line segment AB will move with the same velocity in the y direction, because we can say that u is a component of x only, u is a function of x only. But we can say now in this case, because the x component, or you can say that if you see this in the, let us say that this is moving in the y direction with nu, right? Nu is the component of velocity in y direction. I am explaining you, right? Suppose value of nu is, let us say at this condition, let us say it is 5 meter per second, right? Let us say it is 5 meter per second. So this AB is moving in the y direction with 5 meter per second. Now what happened? This 5 meter per second, this velocity will change with x also. Initially, this velocity is not a function of x coordinates, but now this is a function of x coordinates also. So when this particle, when this line segment will travel in the y direction with the velocity nu, now this b will move relative to a in the y direction also, because you can see from here that the x component of velocity, the y component of velocity here, let us say nu 1. So if you see the x coordinate, b will change its x coordinate from this point to this point, right? This is the new x coordinate of point b. So when b will move in the x direction, now with this we can say that the y component of velocity will change. It will change. Initially when they are not the function of x, so each and every particle on this line segment AB will move with 5 meter per second and they will shift parallelly. But now this is not the condition, because if any particle is moving in the x direction, then its y component will also change. It means when this b will move in the x direction, its component will change. So this b will have a relative displacement in the y direction with respect to point A. With respect to this point A, this b will have a relative displacement in the y direction also, right? So I can say that now in this condition, now let us say this is point A, with relative to A we are saying. Now see, this is not the case that the new component, that is the y component of velocity of b only changed. This, I'm not saying this. The y component of velocity of A is also changing, right? It is also changing, but we are saying relative. So we fix one thing and we'll move other thing. Relative we want to know, right? Both the y component of velocity of both point A and point B will change when they will reach at this position. But we are fixing one because we are talking in the relative term, relative to A, right? That's why, so that you will be able to understand. We are not indulged into so much mathematics, so I fix one and will move the other relatively, right? So now this B will be having this position. Let us say this is the new position of B. Now you can say, sir, why B is here, not here? Because if you remember the earlier condition that when u is a function of x, u is also a function of x, so the distance traveled by the particle B in time delta t is more than the distance traveled by particle A. It is more, right? So it will have a linear translation also, linear deformation also, and it will move relative to A in y direction also, right? It will move relative to A in y direction also. So this is the B. If you see from here, just pay attention guys, just pay attention. If you see from here, if I write for your better understanding, this is the B earlier, this is the B earlier, right? If I say this distance is, we already talked about this in our previous discussion, this is linear deformation. This is linear deformation, and this displacement of B in the y direction is angular deformation. This is angular deformation. This is angular deformation. You may understand this now. Similarly, we can say that similarly the point D will have a relative displacement in the x direction relative to point A. With respect to point A, D will move in the your x direction, right? Because u is a component of y also, right? U is a component of y. When this line is moving in the y direction, its x velocity will also change, so they will not now shift parallelly. They will not shift parallelly, they will have some inclination. The d will move relative to a in x direction also, because in this case u is a function of y, right? When any particle is moving in the y direction, its x component of velocity will also change, u will also change, right? Otherwise, if u is not a function of y, if u is not changing with y, they will shift parallelly. They have to shift parallelly. But now u is a function of y, so when they want to travel in the y direction, its x velocity will also change. So there may be some deformation, right? So if I say that this point is d point earlier d point is this one. Now we have a, this is the now d. Now this is the point d. This is the point d. Right, this is the point D. Now if you say that, sir, why this length is increased, not here, that is the same answer, that nu, that is the y component of velocity, is a function of y also. If they travel in y, then the distance traveled by this d particle with the respect to a is more. That's why their length will increase. So similarly, we can say, if you join this, similarly on this similar pattern, I can say this is the linear deformation, and this one is the angular deformation, right? This one is the, if I write here, this is the angular deformation. So this is the case when both u and nu is a function of x and y both. So if similarly I joined them, make it here, right, because we don't have a space above. So this is a linear deformation and angular deformation. Okay, you understand this, I love this. So let us say this is the point C, this is the point C, and I joined them. So this is the new position of this element A, B, C, D. This is the new position of the element A, B, C, D. Right. We already talked about the linear deformations. This is, how much is this? Del u by del x into dx into delta t. This is this one. So similarly, we know this one. So I'm not going to solve again the linear deformation, that is a linear strain rate. We are not going to solve. We already know that. But now we have to see what is the angular deformation here, right? Linear deformation is there. That linear strain rate which we already discussed is still there, right? That linear deformation or linear strain rate is there, but we are not solving here. We are more concerned about the rotation. That is the angular deformation. We are more concerned about it. Now let us find what is this distance. This is the angular deformation. This is the deformation of B with respect to A in the y direction. And this will be del nu by del x, the change of velocity, y component of velocity with respect to x into dx into delta t. I am saying delta t is the time taken from here to here. So this component will be del nu by del x, the change of y component of velocity with respect to x into dx into delta t. Similarly, I can say this height, this distance. This distance is, if we talk about this distance, how much is this one? This one will be, I write here, del u by del y into dy into delta t. Right? It represents the change of x component. This d will move in x direction. So this is the change of x component of velocity in the y direction with respect to y. So this is del u by del y into dy by into delta t, this distance. Now let us say that, suppose this angle is d alpha, and let us say this angle, change in this angle is, let us say, d beta. Small change in angle, we say d alpha and d beta. These are the angle. So we can say that in this case, the included angle between AB and AD is changing. So we can say in this case, the included angle will change. Right? This will change along with the linear dimensions. Linear dimensions are changing along with the included angle, right? So we can say that this fluid element will suffer a continuous angular deformation with the linear deformation during its motion or during its flow. So this is the case in which there is a continuous angular deformation. This is angular deformation, right? Angular deformation along with linear deformation. Both are present here, linear deformation and angular deformation, right? So we can say that the rate of angular deformation or angular deformation rate is defined as, if you want to write here, that rate of angular deformation or angular strain rate, you can say, is defined as rate of change of angle between the linear segments. This will be equal to rate of, this will be defined as rate of change of angle between the linear segment AB and AD. AB and AD, right? This is the, what is the change of angle between AB and AD is known as the your angular deformation rate. Or we can say that this angular deformation rate, from here you can say that the angular deformation rate I can represent with gamma, right? Gamma dot is rate. This will be equal to, what is the change of angle? Initially the angle is 90 degree, now the angle is this one. How much is the angle change? D alpha plus D beta. This is the change in angle, D alpha plus D beta. But we are talking about the rate, so this will be D alpha by dt plus D beta by dt. D alpha by dt plus D beta by dt. So this is the angular deformation rate, or you can say this will be equal to shear strain rate. This is also known as shear strain rate, right? This is shear strain. If you remember, if you recall your strength of material, this angle is known as shear strain, right? But we are talking here rate, so this is the shear strain rate. So now if you see from this, from this example, from this triangle, if you see from this triangle, I can write that this tangent D alpha, you write here, this tangent D alpha will be equal to, what is the tangent D alpha? That is opposite side, that is del nu upon del x into dx into delta t divided by this one. How much is this one? If you remember that this distance is dx, as we know, this is dx, and how much is this distance? This distance is, you know very well, how much is this? Del u by del x into dx into delta t. Del u by del x into dx into delta t. So what is this total distance will be? I can write, if you write dx plus del u by del x into dx into delta t, right? Del u by del x into dx into delta t. So this is this thing. So if you see from here, if I take dx common from here, right? So this will be equal to del nu by del x into dx into delta t divided by, if you take the dx common, this will be 1 plus del u by del x into dx into delta t, right? This will be the tangent D alpha. Tangent D alpha will be equal to del u by del x into dx into delta t divided by dx into 1 plus del u by del x into dx into delta t. This is the tangent D alpha. If you solve for this, you will get from here, if you solve for the D alpha from here, then we can say this term can be neglected, right? This term can be neglected. Or if you solve for this, and I can write from here D alpha, this is mathematics, I can write D alpha will be equal to, from here you will get D alpha will be equal to del nu by del x into delta t, or dt you can write, right? Dt you can write, dt, del u by del x into dt. So from here you wrote that d alpha by dt will be equal to del nu by del x. D alpha by dt will be equal to del nu by del x. I can write here, and similarly you can prove that d beta by dt, change of angle beta with time, will be equal to del u by del y. Del u by del y, right, will be equal to del u by del y. So you can write from here that this shear strain rate gamma xy dot will be equal to del u by del y plus del nu by del x. Del nu by del x. This is the important relation of shear strain rate. You have to remember this. Shear strain rate will be equal to this one, right? Now there is a concept in this, that concept is known as rotation. There is a concept here that is known as rotation. We want to find what is this rotation, right? Rotation. There is a term known as rotation. Rotation is defined as, we can say that one second. We can say that the rotation at a point, rotation of in a flow field, because this change of relative displacement of B and D in angular direction, in the linear direction, they will induce a rotation. So I can say that the transverse displacement of B with respect to A and the lateral displacement of D with respect to A this can be considered as the rotation of this linear element. This can be considered, linear element is this one, so this can be considered as the rotation of the linear elements, So we can say that, and this will introduce the term known as rotation in the flow field. This will introduce the rotation. Our heading is we want to find what is the rotation, and rotation can be defined as the arithmetic mean of, it can be defined as the arithmetic mean of this can be defined as arithmetic mean of angular velocities of AB line and AD line about the point A. About point A, what is the angular velocity, mean of angular velocity of point of line AB, this one and this AD. These are the angular velocities, right, about point A. What is the angular velocity about point A? Right, what is the angular velocity of this AB about A? This is the angular velocity. It is moving in this direction, that is anti-clockwise direction. Right, AB line is moving with respect to point A in the anti-clockwise direction, in this direction, and the angular velocity is the rate of change of angle, your angle, that is d alpha. So the angular velocity of line AB with respect to point A will be d alpha by dt. This is in the counterclockwise direction. And what is the angular velocity of point D, or this line AD with respect to A will be this one. It is moving in this direction, that is the clockwise direction, and this will be equal to d beta by dt. This is the another angular velocity, and this is in the clockwise direction. So the sense of the angular velocities of the line AB and AD is opposite. About point A, it is opposite. So we can say that the rotation. They are rotating. These fluid particles are rotating, and these are rotating about this z-axis, right? This is x-axis, y-axis. They are rotating about this z-axis. So I can write omega z, rotation about z-axis. Omega z, that is the rotation about z-axis, can be equal to 1/2 arithmetic mean 1/2 of d alpha by dt minus d beta by dt. Why minus? Because one is counterclockwise, another one is clockwise. So we are assuming counterclockwise as positive. We are taking the sign convention. You can take any sign convention, but we can take counterclockwise as the positive sign convention. So the omega z will be equal to 1/2 into d alpha by dt minus d beta by dt, or you can write omega z will be equal to d alpha by dt will be del u by del x minus d beta by dt, from that del u by del y. This is the rotation component. This is known as rotation. You have to remember this. This is known as rotation, right? This is known as rotation. So we can say that when the x component of velocity and the y component of velocities are a function of x and y both, then we can say if they are the function of x and y, so there is a rotation. That rotation is there, angular deformation is there, right? Angular deformation is also there, d alpha, and there is a rotation of the fluid particles. So this is the rotation. So this is omega z. If this is we talk about the rotation in this two-dimensional flow. There may be the case that when the flow is three-dimensional. So the rotation will be about x-axis, about y-axis, and about z-axis also. So we have to find what is the rotation about x-axis, what is the rotation about y-axis. Right? This is not omega. No, don't confuse it. It is rotation. Right? W, small w. This is rotation. So how to remember this? I'll show you how to remember this. This is 1/2 is there. Right? Student will find a problem in remembering these formulas. So there is a trick to remember this. Trick is draw a circle. Right here x, y, and z, and we have to go in the clockwise direction. So if you want to find x, then after x we have y and z. So we have to write dy, dz. Minus is there, minus is there always. So if after x we have y, z, so you write dy, dz. What is the z component? Omega. What is the y component? Nu. So this is the rotation about x-axis. Similarly, you can write for y. So if you write for y, rotation about y after start. So if you want to write about y, then we can say that if here it is y, then in this diagram, if I will say x, y, z, in this clockwise direction we have to move. After y we have z, x, so it is delta z, delta x. The minus sign is here. If it is delta x, here will be delta u. If it is delta z, here will be delta omega. So this is how you can write the rotation component for a three-dimensional or 3D flow when the flow is in both all x, y, and z axis. Now we have some special cases which we want to discuss. The first special case is when del nu by del x is equal to del u by del y, will be equal to del u by del y, if they are equal. What is the meaning of this? You know that previous discussion, del nu by del x is del beta by delta t, and del u by del y is del alpha by delta t. What is this one? This is the angular velocity of, you know that this is the angular velocity of this line AB, sorry, this line AD, and this is the angular velocity of AB, right? And we say that these angular velocities are in the opposite sense. If they are equal with a minus sign, that means this special case means both AB and AD will move with same angular velocity, will move with same angular velocity. Same means both in magnitude and direction. They can move in same direction and with same angular velocity. That means the case will be, if you take the clockwise or the anti-clockwise, if AB is moving with 5 radian per second in the anti-clockwise, then AD is also moving with 5 radian per second in the anti-clockwise. This is the meaning of this, right? If this is the case, then we can say you already know what is the shear strain rate, gamma xy. Shear strain rate will be equal to del u by del y plus del nu by del x. If this is the case, then this will be equal to 0. This will be equal to 0, and you can write omega z will be equal to 1 by 2 into z is there, delta x delta y minus del nu del u, right? You know this, right? We already see here. If they are equal with minus, so this will be equal to del u by del y or del nu by del x. This may be equal to this one. What does this mean? That shear strain is 0. Shear strain rate is 0. There is no shear strain rate. This implies that the line segment AB and AD will move with the same angular velocity, both in magnitude and direction. We already see what is the meaning of this, and hence we can say that the included angle between the AB and AD will remain same. If shear strain is not there, if shear strain is 0, that means there is no change in the included angle. That means if earlier the angle is 90 degree, now in this case also the included angle will be the 90 degree, and we can say, and if this is the case, that means there is no angular deformation. Angular deformation will not happen, right? Angular deformation is not there, the included angle will remain same, and this situation is known as pure rotation. Particles are rotating, but no change with the included angle. This particle, if this is the particle, it can rotate like this. If you can say, if this is this line, they can rotate like this, but they cannot rotate like this. Then the included angle between them, you can see from here, if I show it, right? This is the AB and AD. They can rotate like this, but they can rotate like this, right? The included angle will not change, right? They can rotate with the same included angle, not like this case when the angle will change like this. The angle will change, right? So this situation is known as pure rotation, right? So they are moving with the same magnitude and in the same direction. So you can say from here, you can say that the shear strain is 0. That implies no angular deformation, and no angular deformation means no change in included angle, and no change in included angle means this is the case of pure rotation. Pure rotation is there, no angular deformation, no shear strain rate. This is the case. Now if we want to show that how the pure rotation will look like, so if I show here only, right, no need to make another figure. If I want to show here only, so this will be like this, the included angle will remain 90 degree. This will be the case. They can rotate like this, but this angle will still remain 90 degree. So this is the pure rotation. This is known as pure rotation, right? Now let us discuss about the second special case if we want to discuss, right? Second special case that the magnitude of angular velocities are same, not the direction. Special case 2. If we'll see what is the special case 2, it is saying that del u by del y will be equal to del nu by del x. Del u by del y will be equal to del nu by del x. This means that del alpha by delta t will be equal to del beta by delta t. It means the angular velocity magnitude is same, direction is not same. They are moving with same angular velocity. Same angular velocity, that means magnitude. Magnitude only. Directions are opposite. Direction are still opposite. Directions are not equal. Direction are not same. So if we can see that, if we can see from here, then the shear strain rate gamma xy will be equal to, you know what is this? This will be equal to del alpha by delta t plus del beta by delta t. This will be equal to 2 times of del alpha by delta t. And if you talk about the rotation component, this will be equal to 1 by 2 into del nu by del x minus del u by del y. And if they are equal, this will be equal to 0. This will be equal to 0. That means, what is the meaning of this? Shear strain is not 0. You can see here, shear strain is not 0. That means angular deformation is there. Angular deformation is there. Angular deformation is still there. That means included angles will change. Included angles will change. But this is the case when rotation is 0. In this case, the rotation of the fluid element is 0. Fluid is not rotating. Fluid is not rotating, only angular deformation will take place. Fluid will not rotate. Fluid will not rotate. This implies that the element is under the angular deformation, but there is no rotation. Fluid element will not rotate. It will not rotate, right? So this is the case when del u by del x, both the AB and AD is moving with the same angular velocity in magnitude, but the directions are opposite, still opposite. Then in that case, we can say that the fluid element will not rotate, only angular deformation can take place. Only the angular deformation is there. There is no rotation of the fluid element. So this is the concept of your rotation, pure translation, angular deformation, linear deformation, where they are coming, from where they are coming, how they can behave. So this is all about this theory of this type of motion: translation, deformation, and angular deformation. Stop. Start. Now we can see that we already talk about what is the rotation component when a fluid is flowing. So if we talk about the 3D flow, then we can say that what is the rotation in the z direction will be equal to 1 by 2 into del nu by del x minus del u by del y. Similarly, you can write rotation component along the x-axis will be 1 by 2 into del omega by del y minus del nu by del z, and omega component, rotation component in the y direction will be 1 by 2 into del u by del z minus del omega by del x, right? So these are the three components of the rotation vector in the x, y and z direction. Now we can see that if the flow is a rotational flow, we say that this is for rotational flow. For irrotational flow, if the flow is irrotational, right? For the irrotational flow, we can say that when the fluid is not rotating, when the fluid particle is not rotating, so we can say in that case the omega x will be equal to omega y will be equal to omega z, and all these three will be 0. So for an irrotational flow, this should be equal to 0. So you can write from here that del cross v, that is the velocity product, cross product, will be equal to 0 for an irrotational flow, if the flow is irrotational. Now we have a term known as vorticity. Now we have a term related to the rotational, that is vorticity. So vorticity is defined as that it is a vector which is equal to 2 times the rotation vector, right? Vorticity is a vector which is equal to 2 times the rotation vector. If you multiply the omega x, omega y and omega z with 2, then you will get a term vorticity, right? So we can say that vorticity can be denoted with the help of letter this. Vorticity will be equal to 2 times, vorticity vector will be equal to 2 times omega vector. This is 2 times omega vector. So this will be equal to del cross velocity vector, cross product of this. Del is, you know that what is the meaning of del. This is basic mathematics. I'm not going in detail. What is the del vector? Del vector is del by del x I cap plus del by del y j cap plus del by del z k cap, right? This is the del vector. So vorticity will be 2 into omega. So we can say that for an irrotational flow, the vorticity component is also 0 because the rotation vector is 0 for an irrotational flow. So the vorticity is also equal to 0 for the irrotational flow. So we can say that if an imaginary line is drawn, right? If in a flow, if we draw an imaginary line in the fluid so that the tangent of each and every point on that line represent the direction of vorticity vector, then the line is called vortex line. Then that line is called vortex line, right? Somebody asked what is the vortex line? If a imaginary line is drawn in a fluid flow such that the tangent at each and every point on that line will represent the direction of vorticity vector, then that line is known as vortex line. That line is known as vortex line. You must remember this. Now there is a one term also which is associated with it, that is known as circulation. That is known as circulation. Right. One term is also associated with it, that is circulation, that is denoted by this letter. Right. This is circulation. Circulation is defined as the line integral of, this is defined as the line integral, right? You know that we have line integral, surface integral, body integral, or you can say that area integral, volume integral. So it is a line integral of velocity vector taken along, this is a line integral of velocity vector taken along a closed loop, taken along a closed loop. This is important, it is taken along a closed loop, right? So we can say that the circulation will be defined as, the circulation will be equal to velocity vector, a line integral of this velocity vector with the dr, and this is the line integral taken along a closed loop. This circle represents the closed loop. So this is the your circulation vector. If we can say that, if we can say, suppose there is a flow like this is a flow, suppose this is a fluid element, this is moving with some velocity u, let us say this is moving with velocity u, and this field is moving with velocity u plus del u by del y into dy. This is dy, this is dx, right? And I can say that if, let us say, here the velocity is nu in this direction and here the velocity will be nu plus del nu by del x into dx. We are saying that, let us say, for a two-dimensional flow, u is a function of both x and y direction. U is a function of both x and y direction. So we will say that from here, if you want to find what is the circulation vector, that is a line integral of velocity vector with the your length, or this dr, that will be equal to, if you can say from here, if we go in the clockwise direction, then you have to integrate it one by one. First of all this one, then this, then this, then this. If I take in the clockwise direction, so it will be equal to u into dx plus nu plus del nu by del x into dx into dy. Then it will go in this direction, but this is opposite direction, so minus u plus del u by del y into dy into dx. Then in this direction it is going upwards, so minus nu into dy, minus nu into dy. So this is the thing. So u dx minus u dx will cancel out, nu dy minus nu dy will cancel out. So from here we will have del u by del x into dx dy minus del u by del y into dx dy. So you can write it as, this is equal to del u by del x minus del u by del y into dx into dy. What is this? This is vorticity along z-axis, right? This is vorticity, right? You know that 1 by 2 of this is rotation about z-axis, so this is the vorticity, and dx dy is the area of this, dx into dy is the area of this. So from here you can write that circulation is equal to vorticity into area, right? You can write circulation is equal to vorticity into area. You can use this formula in calculating the circulation. If circulation is asked in the question, then you can use this formula to calculate the circulation, right? So this is circulation vorticity. Sometimes question may ask, so you can easily find out what is the circulation and what is the vorticity. And for an irrotational flow, you can say that rotation component is 0, vorticity is 0, and circulation is also 0 for a irrotational flow because vorticity is 0. So this is all about this rotation, rate of transformation, rate of deformation, angular deformation, linear deformation, and your rotation. What is the rotation component? How a fluid can rotate. Stop. Start. Now let us discuss the velocity, potential, and or you can say potential function, velocity potential function phi. If we go for the definition of this potential function represented by the letter phi, it is a scalar function. First of all, it is a scalar function of space and time. It depends upon the space and time such that its negative derivative with respect to any direction, let us say with respect to x direction or y direction or z direction, will give us the velocity of flow in that direction, right? If I am saying if phi is there, then the negative derivative of phi with respect to any direction, let us say with respect to x direction, will give us the velocity in x direction, that is u. Similarly, minus of del phi upon del y will be equal to nu, and minus of del phi upon del z will be equal to omega. So the negative derivative of the potential function in a direction with respect to a direction will give you the velocity in that direction only. So we can say these are in the Cartesian coordinates. These are the Cartesian coordinates. Sometimes they may ask you the potential function in cylindrical coordinates. So we will see that in cylindrical coordinates, it can be defined as like this. In cylindrical coordinate, it can be defined as minus of del phi upon del r with respect to radius will be given the velocity along the radius, or minus 1 by r del v by del theta will give you the v theta, velocity in the theta direction, or minus of del phi by minus of del phi by del z will be given the velocity in the z direction. These are in the cylindrical coordinates. Now let us see the important thing about the velocity potential function or potential function. First of all, let us talk about the continuity equation. We have to see how a potential function will satisfy a continuity equation. Continuity equation for the steady and incompressible flow, you can say that del u by del x plus del u by del y plus del w by del z will be equal to 0. This is the continuity equation for steady incompressible flow, right? For steady and incompressible flow. Now in place of u, I can write minus of del phi by del x. In place of nu, I can write minus of del phi by del y. And in place of omega, I can write minus of del phi by del z. If I put this will be equal to del by del x of minus del phi by del x plus del by del y of minus del phi by del y plus del by del z of minus of del phi by del z, which is equal to 0. If you can solve it, this will be minus of del square phi by del x into del x is del x square minus del square phi by del y square minus del square phi by del z square will be equal to 0. Now you can take the minus sign common, so this will be equal to del square phi upon del x square plus del square phi upon del y square plus del square phi upon del z square will be equal to 0. This is the equation if you put the velocity function in the continuity equation. What is this? This is known as Laplace equation. You know from the basic mathematics, this is known as Laplace equation. So Laplace equation can be written as, del square phi is equal to 0. Del square phi is equal to 0, which means, just pay attention guys, which means if phi function exists, we can say if phi is there, phi is available, and if it satisfies the Laplace equation for a flow, if you can say that a fluid is flowing, any fluid is flowing through any pipe or over at any surface, anything, any flow is there, if there is a flow, that flow must satisfy its continuity equation. Remember one thing, if continuity equation is not satisfied, then flow is not possible. Flow is possible only and only when its continuity equation will satisfy, right? So in the question, in the numerical, if you are confused, then first of all, if any velocity functions are given, then first of all just check whether they can satisfy the continuity equation or not. If they are not satisfying the continuity equation, then you can simply say that the flow is not possible. This is not practical question, right? Flow is possible only when the continuity equation is satisfied. It means if the function phi exists, and this function phi satisfies Laplace equation, if it satisfies Laplace equation, then only we can say that, then only flow is possible. Then only flow is possible. If Laplace equation is not satisfied, this equation is not satisfied, then we can simply say that the flow is not possible. So if a question comes for the potential function, from the potential function, if your question comes in your paper, then first of all you have to check whether that potential function is satisfying the Laplace or not. If they are satisfying the Laplace, then flow is possible. If they are not satisfying the Laplace equation, then flow is not possible. So you have to check for a potential function, you have to check whether they can satisfy the potential function or not. Second important thing is we have to check for the rotational component. Second one is we have to check for the rotational component, right? Second is rotational component. Just pay attention. We have to see that when a flow is possible, if for that flow potential function exists and that flow is possible, then whether that flow is rotational or irrotational, we have to check. Great. Let us see. You know that omega z will be equal to 1 by 2 into del nu by del x minus del u by del y. We know this. We check for one. We know this. This will be equal to, this you can write 1 by 2 into del by del x of, in place of nu, I can write minus del phi by del y. Minus del phi by del y minus of del by del y of, in place of u, you can write minus del phi by del x. This is a rotational component. I just simply put the value of nu and u in this equation. So this will be equal to omega z will be equal to 1 by 2 into minus del square phi upon del x del y. Del x del y. Now minus minus plus, this will be plus del square phi upon, here it will be del y del x, right? Del y del x, del y into del x, right? Now you know that if the function is continuous, you know from the basic mathematics, if the function is continuous, if the function is not intermittent, then you can write dx dy can be written as dx del x del y can be equal to del y del x. What is the meaning of del x del y? First of all, it is the meaning that the function is first differentiate with respect to x, then it differentiate with respect to y. What is the meaning of del y del x? First you have to differentiate with respect to y, then you have to differentiate with respect to x. If the function is continuous, then both are the same thing. So if they are equal, there is a minus sign here, so you can find that omega z will be equal to 0. Omega z will be equal to 0. Similarly, if you can try for omega x and omega y, both will be 0. They are also 0. If you can check it by putting the value of velocities in the form of potential function, they will be 0. That means it is a irrotational flow. Or I can write better that potential function is only exist for irrotational flow. This is not exist for rotational flow. This is exist only for the irrotational flow. That means if I can write better, that means if phi is given to you in the question, this phi satisfies the Laplace equation. That means flow is possible. That means the flow is possible, and this flow is always irrotational. This flow is always irrotational. For the rotational flow, phi value does not exist. For the rotational flow, phi value will not exist. This is the important concept here, right? So you can say that if phi satisfies the Laplace equation, flow is possible. If flow is possible, that flow is always irrotational. There is no condition that if a flow is possible and that flow is rotational flow if phi is exist for that flow, right? This is the concept. Now you can say there is some other thing which we want to tell. One thing is, if phi is constant, in a particular direction, if I can say in a particular direction, if this value of phi is constant, then velocity will be 0 in that direction. You can see here, if phi is constant in that direction, then omega will be 0. So if I write here, if phi is constant in a direction, if phi is constant in a particular direction, or you can write, no confusion, in a particular direction, if phi is constant in a particular direction, that implies velocity in that direction will be 0. Velocity in that direction will be 0. Right? If in the y direction phi is constant, then nu will be 0. Right? Also, the line joining the point of equal potential function. In a fluid flow, the line joining the points of equal potential function, the value of equal potential function, this line is known as equipotential line. This line is known as equipotential line. Right? In the question, in the engineering services objective question, they may ask a direct question based on this theory. That's why we are writing, right? So equipotential line is that line which are drawn by joining the points of equal potential function. Points of equal potential function. This is known as equipotential line. So we can say that the most important thing is, along the equipotential line there should not be any flow. You must remember this, because velocity is 0 in velocity along the equipotential line. We can say that along the equipotential line, where the potential functions are same, so that means at each and every point velocities are same. So we can say that along equipotential line, flow does not occur. You have to remember this. Flow does not occur along the equipotential lines. You have to remember this. Right? If I can say that, suppose this is the equipotential line where phi is constant in this direction, where phi is constant. So at this line, the value of phi is constant. Right? So along this line there should not be any flow. No flow will be possible along the equipotential line. Now if we want to find what is the slope of this equipotential line, right, you may want to know what is the slope of equipotential line. So let us derive for this the slope of equipotential line. I can write that phi is equal to a function of x and y. Phi is a function of x and y. You know this, right? Because from here you can write phi is a function of space coordinate and time coordinate. Space coordinate and time, right? It is a function of space and time. So if we talk about that phi is a function of x and y, so you can write d phi will be equal to del phi by del x into dx plus del phi by del y into dy. This is d phi, sorry, not d theta, this is d phi. Right, this is d phi. So this will be equal to del phi by del x is minus of u dx. Del phi by del y is minus of nu. So this is minus of nu dy. This will be equal to d phi. Right. You know that for equipotential line, phi is constant. Phi is constant. Along this line, phi is constant. So along this line, velocity will be 0. So we can say along this line, no, there is no flow. So phi is constant. That means d phi will be 0. That means minus of u dx minus nu dy will be equal to 0. Minus of u dx will be equal to nu dy, and dy by dx will be equal to minus of u upon nu. Minus of u upon nu. So this is the slope of equipotential line. This is the slope of equipotential line. You have to remember this. If you don't remember this, you can derive it very easily. So this is the slope of equipotential line, right? So this is all about the velocity potential function, or simply potential function phi, which is a scalar quantity and is a function of space and time. If a potential function exists and it satisfies the Laplace equation, then flow is possible, and that flow is always irrotational. If phi is not satisfying the Laplace, then flow is not possible, and phi is not exist for rotational flow. It is always for an irrotational flow. Stop. Start. Now after the potential function, the next function which we want to discuss is the stream function. The stream function can be represented with the help of letter psi. So it is also a scalar function of space and time, and but most important thing is that stream function is a two-dimensional function, whereas the potential function which we discussed earlier is a three-dimensional function. So it is a two-dimensional function and a scalar function of space and time, such that its partial derivative with respect to any direction will give us the velocity in the direction perpendicular to this direction in the anti-clockwise sense. That means if you differentiate the stream function with x, with respect to x, it will give you the velocity in y direction. If you differentiate the stream function with respect to y, it will give you the velocity in x direction. So I can write, but it is in anti-clockwise direction. So I can write del psi by del x will be equal to nu, and del psi by del y will be equal to minus of u. It will be minus because it is in anti-clockwise direction it will give. So one will be in clockwise, one will be in anti-clockwise, so it will be minus. So this is the meaning of stream function, right? Now again, if we want to check whether the stream function will satisfy the continuity equation or not, so let us say we will check first for continuity equation. Let us check first for continuity equation. The continuity equation for two-dimensional steady and compressible flow is del u by del x plus del u by del y will be equal to 0. This is the continuity equation for two-dimensional steady flow in compressible flow, right? This is the continuity equation in the two-dimension del u. So if I substitute these values, so this will be del by del x of, what is u? U is minus del psi by del y plus del by del y of, what is nu? Del psi by del x will be equal to 0. You can represent it minus del square psi upon del x del y plus del square psi upon, this will be del y del x will be equal to 0. And you know that if the function is continuous, then del x del y will be equal to del y del x if the function is continuous. So this will cancel out, so this will 0. So it means stream function, this is important, stream function is always satisfy continuity equation. It will always satisfy continuity equation, which means that if a stream function will exist, it means flow is possible, which was not the case with potential function. We can say that if the potential function will exist, you have to check whether the flow is possible or not by satisfying the Laplace equation. But this is not the case with the stream function. If in the question stream function is given, it is well defined that flow is possible, no need to check the continuity equation for stream function. But for potential function, you have to check whether the flow is possible or not. Right? You have to satisfy the Laplace equation. So if the stream function will exist, then flow is possible always. There is no doubt in that. Second case 2 which we have to check is rotational component. Case 2 which we have to check is for rotational component. Rotational component. Let us see. You know that what is the rotational component? We know omega z will be equal to 1 by 2 into, here we have del x del nu minus del u by del y. This is omega z. If I put the values here, this will be equal to this will be equal to 1 by 2 into del upon del x into nu is del psi by del x minus del by del u, so del by del y into minus of del psi by del y. This is the case. If you solve the bracket, this will be equal to 1 by 2 into del square psi, this is psi, not phi, del square psi upon, this is del x square minus minus plus del square psi upon del y square. Now this is the rotational component. So its value may be 0, may not be 0. So we can say that for irrotational flow, we say omega z will be 0. So if omega z will be 0, that means del square psi upon del x square plus del square psi upon del y square must be 0. And what is this? This is the most important thing. which will come in the objective question. What is this? This is the Laplace equation. That is del square psi will be equal to 0. This is the Laplace equation, which means that the stream function is possible for both rotational and irrotational. If stream function exist, flow is possible. That flow may be rotational, may be irrotational. If the stream function will satisfy the Laplace equation, then the flow is irrotational. If it do not satisfy the Laplace equation, then the flow is rotational, right? Again, if I am saying that if I write the crux of this, if stream function exists, just please pay attention. If stream function exists, flow is possible always. No need to check continuity, right? That flow is possible, and that flow can be rotational or irrotational, or you can say that flow can be rotational or irrotational and rotational. It can be anything, it can be both. So stream function can also exist for rotational flow, and if this stream function satisfies Laplace equation, then this flow will be irrotational flow. This flow will be irrotational flow. So you have to understand that for rotational and irrotational, both stream function can exist, but potential function can only exist for the irrotational flow, right? Now some of the things which we want to discuss here is, they may ask in the question, suppose this point is, at this point the psi value is psi 1, and let us say at this point psi 1 value is psi 2. Stream function value is psi 2 and flow is occurring in this direction. Flow is there between psi 1 and psi 2. You can also derive this, but no need to derivation, so much concept is not required. So they may ask for this they may ask discharge per unit width. They may ask what is the discharge per unit width. That will be equal to psi 1 minus psi 2. That will be equal to psi 1 minus psi 2. And just pay attention, if for any line, if this we can say, if psi 1 minus psi 2 is positive, if psi 1 minus psi 2 is positive, then the flow is from left to right. Then the flow is from left to right, right? So flow will be in the direction of decreasing of stream function, right? Now we can say that along a streamline. What is a streamline? If we can say what is a streamline, we already discussed the streamline, path line, streak line. If you remember, streamline, if for this stream function, if we say streamline is that line where the stream function is constant, where the stream function is constant, right? Streamline is the line where the stream function is constant. So let us say if this is a streamline, let us say this is a streamline, and this we know very well that along a streamline there should not be any flow. There should not be any flow across a streamline, because the velocity is always along the streamline, you know that. So there should not be any flow across the streamline, we know this, right? So for this psi 1 minus psi 2, let us say this is psi 1, this is psi 2, so we can say that psi 1 minus psi 2 will be equal to 0, right? So there must not be any discharge across this streamline. There should not be any discharge across this streamline. So if you want to find out what is the equation of the streamline, we already discussed the equation of the streamline is dx upon u is equal to dy upon nu. Let us find out here also. Let us find out with the help of psi what is the equation of streamline and what is the slope of streamline. So we can say that, let us discuss. Psi is a function of x and y. We know that it is a function of space. D psi can be written as del psi upon del x into dx plus del psi upon del y into dy. Del psi upon del x can be written as nu. This is nu into dx. Del psi by del y can be written as minus u dy. This is d psi. For a streamline, psi is constant. For a streamline, value of psi is constant. That means d psi is 0. So the equation will be nu into dx minus u into dy will be equal to 0. Or you can write from here dx upon u will be equal to dy upon nu. If you remember, this equation we already talked about, and I said at that time that we will going to derive this equation. So this is dx by u is equal to dy by u. So what is the slope? Dy by dx of a streamline will be equal to nu upon u. Dy by dx for the streamline will be nu by u. And we know that, if you remember from the previous discussion, what is the slope of dy by dx of equipotential line? This will be minus of u upon nu. You remember this, minus of u upon nu. So if you multiply these both slope, I can write dy by dx of streamline multiply by dy by dx of equipotential line, that will be equal to minus 1. That will be equal to minus 1. And you know from the basic of mathematics, if the slope of two lines are minus 1, the product of slope of two lines are minus 1, that means those two lines are the perpendicular to each other. It means streamlines and equipotential lines, streamlines and equipotential lines are orthogonal to each other. You know this, orthogonal to each other. So if you draw here, let us say this is the line where the stream function is constant, and this is the line where the stream function is constant, this is the line where the potential function is constant. So they are at 90 degree to each other. So the equipotential line and stream lines are always perpendicular to each other. So this is all about the stream function, right? Now there is a concept known as flow net. There is a concept which is known as flow net. I rub this, I hope you write this. Flow net is a grid, right? And you know very well that in this case the flow will be in this direction, right? Flow will not be in the direction along the equipotential line, and flow will not cross the stream line, so flow will be parallel to the stream line. Now there is a concept which we want to discuss, is a flow net. Let us rub this also. So flow net is a grid. We can say that flow net is a grid. If in a fluid flow, in a flow field, if a fluid is flowing, then in that flow field, if you draw the equipotential lines and stream lines, then the net which comes as a result of those lines, equipotential line and stream lines, is known as flow net, right? If we will discuss what is the flow net, we say that flow net is a grid obtained by series of equipotential lines and stream lines, obtained by series of equipotential lines and stream lines. That flow net, that grid is known as flow net. And you know that the equipotential line, if the potential function is exist, that is for irrotational flow. This is only exist for irrotational flow. And you know that streamline is always a two-dimensional, stream function is a two-dimensional. So flow net is only drawn for two-dimensional irrotational flow only. This may ask that flow net can be drawn for two-dimensional irrotational flow only. For a rotational flow, you cannot draw the flow net, because for a rotational flow, phi value is not existing. Suppose this is a flow net. Let us say these are the lines, equipotential lines. Let us say phi 1 is constant, phi 2 is constant, phi 3 is constant, phi 4 is constant, and let us say these are the stream lines. Psi 1, psi 2, psi 3, and the angle at each and every point will be 90 degree. This angle will be 90 degree, and you know that flow will be in this direction only. And flow rate between two streamlines, flow rate will be the difference between this per unit width. Flow rate per unit width will be the difference between these two stream function, psi 2 minus psi 3. So this is the flow net, right? So difference between the stream function between two successive streamline will be constant. You can see that the difference between the stream function of two successive streamline will be constant, because the flow rate of flow will be same. So you say that psi 1 minus psi 2 will be equal to psi 2 minus psi 3. That will be equal to discharge. Discharge is same. So the difference between the stream function of two successive streamlines is constant. That means this gap is constant. This gap between two streamlines will be constant because the discharge is constant. Right? You can say that. Now one last topic which we want to discuss in the fluid kinematics is based on these two, that is Cauchy-Riemann equation. Cauchy-Riemann's equation. I want to discuss this. Cauchy-Riemann equation is nothing but the merging of potential function and stream function only. So we can say that first, if we say about phi, if I say about phi, I can say that is exist only for irrotational flow, exist only for irrotational flow. Second, if I talk about the stream function, this is exist for both rotational, this is exist for both rotational and irrotational. If it satisfies the Laplace equation, then it is irrotational, otherwise rotational, right? So we can say for any flow, if phi and psi both satisfies the Laplace equation, if they can both satisfy the Laplace equation, that means flow is there, and that flow is of irrotational, and that flow is a irrotational flow. So we can say that if you talk about Cauchy equation, then you say del phi by del x will be equal to u, del phi by del y will be equal to nu, and you can say that from psi, del psi by del x will be equal to nu, del psi by del y will be equal to minus u. If I can equate this u component, so you know that del psi by del x will be equal to minus of del psi by del y. I can equate these two. So this is del psi by del x will be equal to del phi by del y. These are the Cauchy-Riemann equation. Just one thing which I want to say is this equation is only for irrotational, flow, because phi will exist only for irrotational flow. Phi cannot be possible for a rotational flow, so this equation can be only valid for the irrotational flow. So this is all about the fluid kinematics, which I want to study, which I want to teach you in this session. Right, this session will be followed by the numericals on basis on the fluid kinematics. After the numericals, we will go with the new chapter, that is the fluid dynamics. Stop. Start. Hello friends. In this session of fluid mechanics subject, we will discuss the new chapter, that is the fluid dynamics. We already studied the chapter of fluid static, in which fluid is at rest, and we see that how much a force when a fluid is at rest, how much a force is exerted when a plane surface or a curved surface is in contact with the fluid, and when a total body, completely body is under the fluid, how much forces it will act. We already studied that. And in next chapter, that is the fluid kinematics, we study the motion of the fluid without considering the cause of the motion, that is the force. And we study that how the velocity is there, how acceleration will affect the fluid flow, right? What is the continuity equation? First fundamental equation of fluid mechanics is the continuity equation. We already see that, and we see that how the stream function will act, how the potential function will act, right? What is the transformation, translation, rate of deformation, rotational? We already see all of these characteristics of a fluid flow. Now the next chapter of our discussion is the fluid dynamics. In the fluid dynamics, we will study the motion of the fluid, and with that motion of the fluid, we will consider the basic cause of the fluid flow, that is the force. So in fluid mechanics, we will study about the force, what are the various forces act when a fluid is flowing, and how these forces will cause the flow and what are their roles. We will study the Bernoulli equation in this, and the application of Bernoulli equation, that is the Venturi meter or FS meter. We already studied that, what are the various forces act when a fluid is flowing through a pipe, through a bend, what are the forces act. Impulse momentum equation we will study in this. So this is all brief.